is that the Russians insist on, designating Ahrar Sham and Jaish al-Islam as terrorist organizations. And in fact, all indications show that, these groups keep spawning other groups that are very, very similar. And in fact, in many ways, whether in dogma or practice, Ahrar Sham and Jaish al-Islam really very much like al-Nusra in many ways. So why is it so difficult to say that these guys that commit these acts in this fashion are actually terrorist groups and fair game?
I'm sorry, your question is why would it be so
Question
difficult
is,
for us to make that leap?
Are you, let's say, is this like a red line for you that you will not designate Ahrar Sham and Jaish al-Islam as terrorist organizations?
Our response to that is that these are Nusra, Daesh, are groups that have been designated by the UN through an agreed-upon process. All other groups, and we have recognized, and we've said this before, Kirby's spoken to it, I've spoken to it, there is, the Secretary's spoken to it, there is, on the battlefield, there are groups that mesh together, or individual fighters, or groups of fighters. It's not a clean situation all the time, which is why we need to work harder to coordinate our efforts to delineate between those groups.
So the reason that they have been designated by the UN is because you won't let the UN do it. It's a bit disingenuous to get up here and say, well, it's not up to us, it's up to the UN, when you're preventing the UN from doing it, isn't it?
But that's not entirely true, and the fact that, there is an agreed-upon process by which these groups have been.
Yes, and when it is raised, when people want to put them on, you and others, your allies, the Saudis in particular, say no. But then you say, you stand up and say, well, the reason they're not on the list is because it hasn't gone through that process. And I'm just saying, don't you think it's a bit disingenuous to say they're not on the list because it hasn't gone through this process, when you are one of the prime reasons that they haven't been gone through, that it hasn't gone through this process?
Well, again, I'm not going to speak to that. All I'm going to say, it's a consensus-based decision-making process.